Yoga is the greatest contribution that India has made to the world. Modi ji, when he was here and addressing the Congress and the Senate joint session, said that we Indians, failed to copyright yoga. And he said we were so generous that we gave it yoga as a gift to the world. That is true. But what is painful about the teaching of yoga is concerned is that we get only a very watered down version of what yoga is. First of all, it is not simply a physical exercise. It is a technology to give you the highest intelligence. You can find the genius of the yogis when you read Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. I have taught this many times in the US, but every time I go back to it, and then I feel that I have not done a full justice to that, because as I go revisit every time, new things come about. But what is the beauty about it? The commentators like Vyasa, Vachaspati Mishra, Abhigyana Bhikshu, Shankara, Ramanananda, Saraswati, and Hariharananda, these are all stalwarts. But they did a wonderful job because they were in a state of consciousness to understand what yoga is. The term yoga, has been defined differently by different people, and most of the time they miss the point. And the generally understood meaning of the word yoga is that it unites, and then pointing towards the Indo-European origin of the term from yog to unite. And that apparently is not a great interpretation, because as Max Muller and Madhva has pointed out, it is not uniting. There is nothing to unite in the yoga philosophy. In Vedanta, of course, you have the Brahman and the Atman to unite. In yoga philosophy, there is nothing to unite. So they rightly say it is to separate the Prakriti, which is the objective world, matter, from the Purusha, this consciousness. Consciousness is different from matter. And there is no union between that. And that is what Max Muller and Mark said. And Vyasa is very, if you read Vyasa's commentary, it's right from the beginning of his exposition of yoga, he says, it is all about samadhi, and in that respect he agrees with Panini. Panini also defines glosses over yoga and says it's about samadhi. Samadhi is concentration, one point concentration. There are two kinds of concentration, and yoga has a lot to do with that. And it is a science of concentration. So if you want concentration, then you have to go to yoga. And there are, and Vyasa mentions two types of concentration, which Patanjali also discusses at length. um, the samprajnata samadhi, which means total concentration on the object is one. That is yoga. And then there is an asamprajnata samadhi, which is an objectless concentration. There is no object at all. The object disappears. Asamprajnata samadhi, object free. So you can see that they are able to conceive of a concentration on the object and then another concentration in which object doesn't exist at all. And then you go to the commentary of, let's say, Vijnana Bhikshu and others. There is a understanding, there is a statement that reminds me of modern physics, quantum physics. Vijnana Bhikshu says that the point of yoga is that only the self exists, the object doesn't exist. It is completely absorbed in the subject. There is nothing, there is no object at all, there is no object outside. So you find that later on this being developed in Yoga Vasishtha. Yoga Vasishtha is a beautiful, beautiful exposition of everything is within our consciousness. There is nothing outside. You just create everything out of your lower levels of awareness. But when you are completely a Purusha, the pure consciousness, there is nothing there. Now what is quantum physics saying? Quantum physics is saying the same thing, the observer. The observer is everything. The observed is the observer. The observer is the object. The object is not there. Only the observer is there. So it also reminds me of Max Planck, who said that matter arises out of consciousness. Okay. When you look at all these things, I'm just only mentioning a few things here and there just to create an appetite for you to go and look at the Yoga Sutra and read it with all the commentators, the ones I mentioned. They are great, particularly Vyasa, as you should read, Vijnana Bhikshu, and Vachaspati Mishra, Hariharananda too. And then if you want to read in English, the best book that I can recommend for you is by an edition, a very detailed edition, the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali by Edwin Bryant. But anyway, if the goal of yoga, what is the goal of yoga? To gain supernormal powers. And how are you going to gain that supernormal power? By just understanding your consciousness and seeing the mind as extraneous, the intellect as extraneous, and what is important is your own consciousness looking at consciousness itself. And at that level, you have this pure consciousness, the consciousness in which nothing is hidden. And consciousness is the creator of everything. Now, I want to jump on to the sutra itself. The first sutra where he defines yoga. Patanjali defines yoga, yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga, the English translation, it cannot be first of all translated into English. That's why it is very important that everybody should have some knowledge of Sanskrit in order to fully understand what Patanjali is up to. Chitta vritti nirodha. In my own reflection of it over a period of say 40-45 years on this particular one, every time a new meaning emerges, because yoga is not a philosophy, it is a direct perception of reality by the individual. And also you should know, the sacred linguistics of Sanskrit, in which the words and the experience merge together. To say the sutra itself is to experience the meaning that it tries to convey through words. The words are just only some guidelines, and then that creates and evokes an experience. Chitta vritti nirodha. It's very interesting. Chit and chitta, when you look at the sound value, the chitta and a is added. Chit is a higher state of consciousness in chitta. What happens when you say even chit, I used to teach people, just stay with the sound chit. Chit you can experience yourself by saying chit. The tongue is at the roof of the mouth. Chit. And it will arrest the thought process, and it will take you to a higher state of consciousness, chit. And then even the breath will change. And the change of breath is very important, because the change of breath is always associated with a higher level of awareness, because breath and mind and higher state of consciousness are all related. Chit. Chit. Vrit. Again, another similar impact is produced by the sound vrit. Of course, there is a meaning for the word vrit, which is expansion. But the pronunciation and the result that it produces in terms of experience is very important. Nirodha again is this. When you say that nirodha, it will stop. So when you say chitta vritti nirodha, you go on doing it in many ways. As a japa also you can do. Or you can, just as I said, chit vritti nirodha, and experience it with the meaning. And what is the importance of stopping the chitta, the mind, vritti, the expansion of the mind? Then you go, the following sutra, Patanjali will say, why do you have to stop this mind? because then only you will see your real self, Swarupam. Your Swarupam is overlapped or hidden, veiled by the thoughts. There is a saying in Tibetan Buddhism, thoughts are your guests. They check in and check out. Then then who are you? Or what is you? You are the gap in between the two thoughts. And that is exactly what Patanjali is pointing out here. When everything is gone, when the mind is gone, then in the Vibhudipada you will discuss it at length, and also in the Samadhi levels you will talk about that. So it's all about one thing, to get super intelligence. And that super intelligence is going to give you supernormal powers. I hope that someday people will realize that Patanjali's Yoga Sutra need to be taught at schools, colleges, universities, and should be subjected to research at PhD levels. And there is a lot that we can benefit especially if we look at it, look at the text, and then study it with Vyasa. And then use your own experience. Direct experience is very important. And that will add to your understanding of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. God bless.